Hey guys, in today's profile review, we're going to be breaking down what bronze mid laners need to do to get to platinum. And one of the biggest issues holding back mid laners is just the popularity of the role. You don't get your champion or your role every time you queue up because everyone wants to play mid lane. So in this profile review, in 10 minutes, I break down everything this guy needs to do. He knows what champions he wants to play. He knows the role he wants to play, but he really needs to tidy up his secondary role and focus on some key concepts like how to carry him mid and late game and to get him more fights. Now, before we get into it, if you're interested in getting your own profile reviewed, please check out the links in the YouTube description below, as well as if you're interested in the paid coaching solution I talk about towards the end of this video, please also check the links out below. Let's get into the video. Hey Unit, my name is Dylan from lolcoach.academy and I'll be doing the profile review of your account today. So thank you for signing up and let's get into it. So currently you're bronze 4 and your goal is to get to platinum. And so in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be discussing basically everything a bronze 4 mid laner needs to be focusing on in order to get to platinum and applying it to your profile. So you can get actionable insights on how to climb to your goal. Now, the biggest problem you said that's holding you back is warding, map awareness, and macro and micro. And to be honest, it looks like that could actually be an issue. Because we can see here on your mobilytics that you have an overall win rate on mid lane at 55%, which is really good. And we can see a really strong goal difference at 15. However, when I see such a strong goal difference at 15, I generally want to see a higher average win rate than this. So we can see here it's about 54%. I would be wanting to see this at around the 56 to 60% area, which suggests that you are struggling with your mid to late game. Now, the biggest reason for why players, particularly at your rank, particularly mid laners, particularly bronze 4 players, struggle with mid and late game is because they're not getting in enough fights. They don't know when to group, they don't know when to fight, they don't know when to help their team. And to be honest, in bronze, in no matter what elo you go to, the team that groups first and more often is generally the team that wins 9 times out of 10. Whether the team is behind, whether the team is ahead, the team that works together is almost always the more successful team. And this makes sense because League of Legends is built around being a team game. 5-on-5, there's a big pro player scene that heavily influences the meta, and the right balanced team are always trying to make the game more successful and easier to win for the team that plays together and works together, whether it's trying to get a dragon, trying to get a baron, or trying to end the game and kill the enemy nexus. So what does that mean for someone who has a problem closing out games? Well, the easiest thing or the biggest thing that right now that's probably holding you back from closing out mid and late games is simply grouping enough. Right now, I can see you have a kill participation of 42%, which generally indicates, and that's over your last 20 games. So let's branch it out to 40. Over your last 40, 42, and let's go again. And over your last 60, 42% kill participation. Now, this is an issue because a mid laner, particularly on average, the average mid laner should be aiming for around a 50 to 55% kill participation. Now, when there's such a big discrepancy, what it suggests to me as a coach is that you're not getting in enough fights. Now, in general, the easiest way to fix this is to just group. Whenever you see your team grouped after the 15-minute mark, just go with them, particularly if there's a reason. So if they're grouped mid because they're trying to push a turret, you should be there. If they're grouped bot lane because they're trying to take dragon, you should be there. Particularly when you're playing your Azir and your TF where you're going teleport. There should never be an excuse for your team dying on the map without you being there. Regardless of if you, as the individual, think it's the right choice, you should always be at least around the fight that's going to break out, and then you make the decision of, do I commit to this fight even though I think it's the wrong idea, or do I just back off and not engage at all? Because at the end of the day, I guarantee you, having the authority to be able to make that choice, whether you go into the fight or whether you stay back and don't go into it, is much more impactful in the game than catching 1 or 2 extra waves in top lane. Now, the only reason I would suggest maybe you don't group in a team fight is, if you're matching someone and you literally have to stay there because you're guarding your ally base from them killing it. But in basically every other circumstance, you just need to be grouping more. So whenever your team goes for Dragon, you need to be there. Whenever your team groups for Baron, you need to be there. Whenever your team is pushing mid lane, you need to be there. And that's going to be the biggest thing that's going to be helping you change your current win rate in mid lane from 54% to ideally 56, 57%. And to be honest, a 54% is a really good win rate. And it shows that actually that you're improving, because right now we can see, you've got an overall win rate of 50%. In your last 60 games, you're at a 46% win rate. But I can see in your last 20, you're at a 56% win rate. And in your last 40, you're at a 42%. So you've actually increased your win rate a lot in your last 20 games, which is a really good sign. And it suggests you're improving naturally as a player, which is really great. Now, the next thing I want to talk about to you, and this is one of the biggest things that's going to be holding you back, is your champion pool right now. So right now, I can see that Azir is by far your most successful champion, and you've got a couple other mid laners here that you could definitely pick if Azir gets banned or picked. The only one, and again, this is because small champion pools are just easy to climb with, what I recommend for you is having Azir as your main, which I can basically see you're doing. In your last 40 games, you've played him 14 times. I'd like to see that a little bit higher. But you should be basically queuing up as mid, primary, jungle, secondary. And whenever you get mid, always playing Azir unless he's banned or picked. And then if he's banned or picked, playing your Yone, because it looks like your second most successful champion. Now, because mid laners get auto-filled a lot, you generally need a second role and a strong champion in that second role. Now, I can see you're playing a lot of Kayn at the moment in the jungle. And to be honest, he's probably one of the reasons why you're climbing a little slow. I can see in your last 40 games, you've basically only won 3 games with him and lost 11 games. Now, for someone who looks like they're new to League of Legends, like this account, you don't even have stats for last season. You've only just got a couple of stats. Kayn is not a good jungler to be learning the jungle on, and he's not a good jungler to really be playing on, particularly when you have a really bad win rate, because all this is doing is making you lose games, making it harder to climb, and ruining your MMR, which is basically the way League of Legends says to a player and to the system whether or not this player should climb, stay at the same rank, or go down. So, what junglers should you be focusing on? And I guarantee, I would argue that you need to be focusing on this as one of your biggest priorities, learning a new jungler. So right now in the meta that I think would be really good for you to learn is either Maokai, Amumu, Zac, or Warwick. Now, Warwick's a slightly lower win rate, but he's one of the easiest junglers to understand and master basic jungle concepts. So like when to gank, how to jungle path, all these things that make a good jungler. So I would strongly recommend learning jungle and doing it properly on Warwick instead, and trying to drop your Kayn as quickly as possible. However, it's kind of hard to learn a new champion in ranked. I'm sure you're probably already doing it, but it's not very optimal. So what I recommend is then playing or strategizing with a 2 ranked account strategy. So basically what this is you have one account for climbing and you have one account for learning. So right now on your account for climbing, what I'd really just want to see is you playing Azir. But on your account for learning, what I'd love to see is you starting to learn Warwick and develop him so that when you do get filled and you don't get mid lane, you have a reliable jungler that can be just as successful or almost as successful as your main role and your main champions. Because what that will do over an entire season is that will increase your win rate from, by up to 3 to 7%, depending how much you get autofill, which is really important over an entire season. That's really the difference between, finishing gold 4 and finishing gold 2 or gold 1, or, finishing gold 3 and finishing plat 4. So a really big difference. You won't feel it in the day-to-day or the week-to-week, but over an entire season, it will make that big 3 to 7% win rate difference. And to be honest, for someone like you, all you need to do to climb is to get this win rate up to 55% as quickly as possible and make sure it stays there or it goes even higher. And on your trajectory, at least with your Azir, it looks like you're becoming a much better and better Azir player, which is really, really good to see. Now, the last thing I want to talk about are your runes. So right now you're having success on Azir going Comet. However, it's not the most efficient rune. So unless you have a really strong personal reason as why you go Comet, what I'd be recommending you do is trying out First Strike. It's not as much damage, but over in the early game, like not as good for poke wise, but in the mid to late game, it is a much better rune than Comet. Now, what I would again suggest is going onto your second account and playing Azir and learning how to use First Strike and getting a feel for it and going, okay, I like First Strike, or no, I don't really like First Strike, I'm going to stay with Comet. Because to be honest, Comet is working for you. However, if we can make that work, if we can make your main champion work for you even better, that's a really key component that we need to understand. Cool. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is probably your deaths. So right now you're dying a little bit too much. I can see 6.4 in your last 40 games, which I would assume is mostly with your Kayn, where you've got a 6.7 average death rate. Your Azir KDA is actually pretty good. 6.0, 4.9, 7.3. It's a little low, and again, it's because of this low kill participation. Your assists should probably be a little bit higher, and so should your kills. But your Kayn is really the biggest thing holding you back at the moment. Now, that is really all I have to say, Juno, about how you can improve and eventually turn yourself into a plat player. Now, if you're looking to accelerate that journey and you're wanting a coach to help you basically learn the things I've just talked about, help you break down how to get better at warding, how to get better at map awareness, and how to get better at macro and micro, it can't really be done in a profile review. But it can be done with one-on-one coaching, through game reviews, through goal setting, and through just talking it out and figuring out what your exact problems are one-on-one. So what I recommend for a player like you is a monthly ranked climbing plan. Basically what it is think of it like a personal trainer for the gym. We're trying to get you from point A to point B. We're trying to get, for you, in your case, from bronze 4 to platinum. And what happens is that doesn't happen overnight. That transition doesn't happen overnight. And it's really destructive to be like, okay, I'm a bronze 4 player. How do I get to plat? Instead, what we need to focus on is, okay, how can we change you from a bronze 4 player to a bronze 2 player, to a silver 4 player, to a silver 2 player, to a gold 4 player, to a gold 2 player, and eventually into platinum. And the way we do this is by breaking down your climbing journey month by month, focusing on the biggest issues that are holding you back currently, and we chip away at them each month until we have what's left of a really good player with a platinum playstyle. So if you're interested in learning more about that, that is a paid coaching solution. But once you've watched this, please reach out to me in Discord. We can book a free one-on-one call, and I can walk you through exactly everything that would look like, from the goal setting to the game reviews to the improvement areas and the monthly focus areas that we need to be looking at for you as an individual. Anyway, mate, you've got a lot of potential here. You've done really well. If this is your first season climbing, I'm really proud of you. The fact that you found a champion already and you're having great success on him, like Azir with a 55% win rate over 60 games, that's really impressive. We just need to make sure you're playing as much Azir as possible, and you're also getting your secondary role up to scratch, because mid lane is a super popular role. It's the most popular role, and you're not going to get it every time. So you really do need that backup for that 20 to 30% of your games. Cheers, good luck in the Rift, and I'll talk to you once you've watched this.